say it ain't true, man.
Where'd you find this?
Let's get ready to rumble.
This is PHAT'S Barbershop Club.
Brought to you by PHAT'S Fresh Cuts. It's more than a barbershop.
And here's your host, LaDarius, Fat Mamon.
All eyes on me.
Daddy's working.
Welcome to my town.
Guys, this is PHAT'S Barbershop Club. Real topics, real views, real people, sports. Today, I have, once again, to my far right, Malcolm Butler. And then my immediate right, I have Kyle Roberts. He's been here before. He knows how this thing goes, and I am Fat. And we have been talking about.
We just solved world peace. Whatever the mic was off. So now we got to talk. We got to talk football from here.
We got to talk football from here. So, okay, like you said, we well, I don't know. I'm still on this Hall of Fame statue thing, man, because the names, y'all. We were talking about the statue reveals from last night's Tech ceremony, and just watching on social media, I was just like, man, I wish I could have been there. You know, Willie Roaf, Terry Bradshaw, those guys, you see, Willie Roaf, for me, I saw him play.
Right. Same
growing up. And I think he was the first person, even though Carl Malone and all those guys were in professional sports, he was the first person that I knew went to Tech.
Right. Well, and Willie, for me, he checked two big boxes, obviously, Louisiana Tech, but he played for the Saints for a significant portion of his pro football career. So as big of a Saints fan as I was growing up, which was 80s and 90s, so we're not going to talk about those Saints back then necessarily. But to know that my favorite NFL team also had we all knew he was a legend at the time for sure. So that was really cool growing up with that.
Yeah, Willie went to school at Tech the same time. We went to school together the same years. But, I grew up obviously going and watching Carl play and Spoon play and Kim play back in the day. Terry was just a little bit before my time. You know, his senior year was 69, first round pick of the NFL draft in 70. I was born in 69, so I didn't get to watch Terry play as a Bulldog, but obviously saw him play for the Steelers. And then Fred was a little bit before our time. Fred, a former Ruston High Bearcat back in the day. You know, his daughter last night was the one, Frederica, who I went to Ruston High with at the same time. We talked about, when Fred was growing up, he lived right across from Joe I. Stadium, and he would sit on the hill and kind of watch from over there and just talk about his dreams of being a Bulldog one day, and he fulfilled those and so many more.
Yeah, that's insane. That's crazy.
But that sixth is as good as you're going to find. I would challenge anybody to find a better sixth at us from that all graduated from one school, especially a non-Power 5 school.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah,
a non-Power 5 school. I mean, we have about 25,000 people here now.
Right.
At that time, who knows how many people? Maybe half the amount or just a third of it, but to come from this small area and make a big impact on the sports world, across the world, that has to say a lot.
And you can still do that. I think that's what's great about a place like Louisiana Tech. Like, you can come here and you can get a great make a great academic achievements, but you can also do it in the sport, that you choose to as well.
Yeah. And for everybody who's watching, who know who I am and know me, and they're like, oh, he's on here talking about Tech? What is going on? I am a diehard LSU fan.
Okay, we'll forgive you.
We won't hold that against you.
I'm a hometown fan first.
Yes.
I'm a hometown fan first. I try to refrain from saying I'm a home state fan because I've never actually been a Saints fan. So I
like you more and more every time.
So hear me out.
LSU part.
Hear me out. Okay. Because I at the time growing up, I couldn't like the Saints because, of course, they wasn't winning.
They were bad. Yeah.
I decided I won't have an NFL team.
Okay.
Because I don't want to root outside of my state. So I root for all teams that has an LSU player, Tech player, Grambling player. I kind of watch them, but I don't have a set NFL team.
Well, any year that the Cowboys and the Saints play, Malcolm and I just radio silence for about a week. And then after that, it's like, hey, buddy, how have you been doing?
Yeah, I'm a diehard Cowboys fan, which has been hard for the last couple of decades.
I think you'll be okay this year.
Well, for the Cowboys, and I'm not having a team, I get to analyze every team. For the Cowboys, it's always right out of the blocks. They fire out of there just like right now, and then it's like, okay, we're tired. Let's fold. And I'm like, dude, y'all.
Hopefully this is their year. Hopefully this is their year. We'll find out.
Insane.
Oh,
he's incredible.
Yeah, he makes watching the defense a lot of fun. You can, usually when you're watching a game, you're watching a snap, the quarterback. Man, I just focus on where's 11 pre-snap and just watch him go to work.
Yeah, he's. I liked him at Penn State. Okay, so little known fact to everyone: one of my favorite non-Louisiana teams has been Penn State.
Okay.
And it goes all the way back to Curtis Innings and LeVar Harrington.
Mm-hmm.
Those two guys, running back and linebacker, I wanted those two positions. I wanted to play those two positions, and they did it, to me, the best watching non-Louisiana football.
That's awesome.
I was fortunate enough to been up there at Happy Valley twice. Early in my career at Louisiana Tech, we went up there and played them. I'm almost positive it was twice. But yeah, I mean, we one year we went up there and scored the first touchdown of the game, jumped up 7-0, and then 67 unanswered points later we went home. But
I'm pretty sure my dad was at that game.
It's a really cool environment up there to watch a college football game.
Look, you get 7 points.
In Happy Valley, you're good.
Happy Valley, and you're not supposed to get any.
Right. They were really, really good back then.
Yeah.
Of course, then they dove down a little bit. Now there's, the last, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years they've been better.
They covered around the top 5.
Yeah, they've been much better.
So okay, we talked some Louisiana Tech. We talked a little college. We're going back and forth this thing. It's been a pretty exciting year for Ruston football.
I would definitely say so. Yeah. And so, again, thank you for having me back on. I was on with you last year during Ruston's playoff run. And, I have the honor and privilege of being able to do the play-by-play on Bearcat Nation Network and on Z1075 with Nick Brown. We've got a great stats with Carl Johnson and Mike Roberts. Matthew Carswell does the camera force. We're on the road. Yes. And so, he does a great job with doing that. So I want to make sure that we give the proper shout outs for that. And, Malcolm and I, we co-run the Lincoln Parish Journal and covering Ruston football, covering Cedar Creek football and Lincoln Prep as well. But with the success that Ruston has had specifically over these last couple of seasons, certainly last year, that has made the job both for play-by-play, but also for covering Ruston football and Ruston sports as a whole, to be honest with you. It's been a really sweet deal for me personally. I know Malcolm feels the same way. As a graduate, we agreed 1989.
1989, Ruston alum.
And so Malcolm, too, is somebody that cares deeply about the local schools that are going on around here. But yes, this has been an exciting season. It's starting out almost the exact same as as last year, where they lost to Warren Easton in a close one at home, and then found ways to win both against Jesuit, this time in New Orleans, and then against Cabot, which we went on a 3-hour trip last week to Arkansas, and ended up getting a pretty good win up there too. And so, can the Bearcats make it back to the Superdome? They can. The question is going to be, what is it going to look like whenever you get further into the non-district schedule, that when District 2 5A starts? How is Ruston going to handle the expectations based on their success from last year? Because Coach Ball, when he's talked to me, when he's talked to anybody else about this 2023 team, especially during the preseason, he's been reminding everybody 2022 was last year. We may have a lot of those kids back on this roster too, but this is a new team, and they haven't earned it yet. And so they're going to have to keep playing really high quality, very good football as they get into some of these tougher opponents on their schedule.
Definitely, definitely high quality football.
Yeah,
and going back to game 1, the Warren Easton game. We started off each first half really slow, but, and that's only on the offensive side. Defense, they fire off. They start off at the top of the game, and they keep it throughout the game to the point to where it's like, if you're really a Ruston fan and you're watching the game, you have your ups and downs about the offense, but it's like, okay, we're going to be okay. The defense is going to get us the ball right back, and the offense is going to get it rolling. That's kind of been the game plan from watching from afar.
Sure.
Of course you want to go into the game and start it off right off, but it hasn't been that way for the Bearcats. Why do you think that we're not starting firing off the ball per se?
I think just based on the eye test, I think it's a matter of you've got a quarterback who's incredibly talented, but he's young, right? He's a junior, and he sat behind Jaden Osborne for the last few seasons.
The whole season.
Yeah, right.
Let's not forget to mention.
Yes,
he only got a couple snaps.
Yes,
we're going to say
yes, and then you've got two junior, very talented running backs as well, and so they're all getting their own rhythms. Jordan Hayes played more or less
90% of the season.
Yeah, he played a pretty good bit last year. Dylon, we knew he was going to be good based on how he was playing junior high ball and JV football. But I think that your skill positions are still they're still figuring themselves out. Mm-hmm. Now, I will say one thing I did go back and do, and this is very interesting. If you go back and look at 2022, it was almost the exact same formula. And the offense needed some time for the line to get into a good rhythm. They needed time to really feel comfortable with what they were doing. The defense was what was keeping us in football games for the first few last year. And then the offense, once they started going, that was when Ruston was starting to put up those big.
And I know they've got some good young guys, but none of those guys had to be the alpha male last year, so to speak. And so I think that there's a number of things on the offensive side of the football. Jared said after game one that, we've got to do a better job blocking. It's not doesn't just fall on the quarterback's shoulders, right? There's a lot of different things. And when you have a young quarterback, then, if the offensive line's not doing as good a job, or if receivers drop a pass or whatever it may be, that's kind of magnified, right? And so anyhow, this coaching staff showed last year that they were able to develop these guys and continue to get them better and better. And I think we all know what we have in the defense. Sounded like there was some choice words at halftime in the Jesuit game. And that really, kind of brought the fire to the defense. And so I don't think anybody questions how good that defense is. The question is, when you play teams that are going to line up and say, okay, we're going to try to stop you running the football, can you hurt them in other ways?
Yeah. I think, and me being amongst the community as far as sports talk, we get a lot of, we're running the ball too much. We're doing this. And I'm like, guys, Dyson had 30 carries a game last year.
Right.
The main difference is catching the ball on first and third down. That's what we did best last year, and that's what we're going to have to do this year.
Yep.
When we throw the ball, and the Cabot game was prime example, we got 2nd and 8, 97 yards to go, and we throw the ball, we make the completion.
Yes.
We come back on a first down, and we make the completion. All you have to do is just make the completion. That 10 in the box, 9 in the box, it becomes, I'm not getting in the box.
So Josh was 5 of 6, and I think 140 yards just in the third quarter.
Just in the third quarter.
Just in the third quarter in Cabot. And what that did, because you saw it, Lee, it was 10-0 at halftime. Mm-hmm. And so we were ahead going into the half. And Cabot, for all intents and purposes, Cabot was looking really good there in the second quarter, kind of like Jesuit when they were on offense. And then they come out right after halftime. They drive down the field, they score, Cabot does, and then after that, you're like, oh, goodness, we left some opportunities on the table in the first half. It's only 10-7. What do we do? Yeah. Well, Ruston's defense does what it does best. It digs deep. It holds them on the ensuing drive after that. Ruston drives down the field and gets a field goal, and then Cabot's offense pins them on that 2-yard line.
Yes.
And then that is where you saw the passes. It ended up being, just on that drive alone, he had 97 yards through the air, 2 completions. But for the remainder of the game, once Cabot's defense realized that Josh could toss the football, it opened everything else up.
Exactly.
And once I think that is going to be, just to go back to Malcolm's previous point about the team, is that when the defense is forced to respect Ruston's pass game, again, please see last year, 2022, the minute that they had to start respecting the ball through the air, that's when it opened up for those running backs to do what they do best. And I think that's what we're going to see as this season continues to progress.
Exactly. Well, look, guys, we're going to take a quick break right quick, and we'll be right back after these messages.
PHAT'S Fresh Cuts, owned by Ruston's premier barber, LaDarius Fat Mamon. At PHAT'S, we get you off the bench and into the starting lineup. Specializing in adults and children, we provide exceptional cuts and personalized services at amazing prices. Located at 415 South Farmerville Street in Ruston, Louisiana. Find us today on Booksy to book your appointment. PHAT'S Fresh Cuts, it's more than a barbershop.
And we are back. Look, guys, we were talking about the Cabot Ruston High game. We were talking about the game plan per se before the half. They had to get a little chewing up, by the coach. They came back out firing. Outstanding play in the third quarter by our quarterback. Receivers, of course. Let's take a look. And, hey, last I checked, it was over 10,000 views or maybe over 20,000 views on the video. So the voice is heard. Much more, just as much as the catch, Right. So, y'all, if y'all haven't heard this play-by-play, I know you want to watch the video, but listen to the play-by-play. The play-by-play was everything.
Well,
I didn't even know what was going on.
I didn't know he was going to do this. I'm sorry.
Sure, you
I didn't
sent
know
it to him. I didn't send it to him.
Hey, I just pull stuff off the internet and bring it up. But y'all, look, we're gonna play this, and here it is.
Lander Smith, the fullback. Brantley. Play fake, drops back. He's going to airmail it down to Hudson for a jump ball. Hudson, the one-handed grab from freshman Ahmad Hudson. Pickup. Ahmad Hudson, a man among boys, hangs in the air and pulls it in with one hand. That's a first down for the Bearcats and a gain of 37 yards.
37 yards. All he did was play basketball.
Right.
Ran down the floor and went up for the ball. Did you see that play coming?
No clue.
No.
So this is what I saw as the play was developing. I was like, okay, the fact that Jordan on the previous play got them 2 yards just to get where you're not backed up with where you're behind is in the end zone.
As their announcement said, their radio play-by-play said that had to be the toughest 2 yards he's ever.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I can attest to that from my end too. And so once Jordan got the 2 yard pickup, I'm thinking in my mind, I'm like, you have a little more wiggle room here. You don't have to just run, a dive up the middle again and set up maybe 3rd and 6. Maybe you can air it something, go down. So when I'm looking up and as the play is developing in front of me, and it was on the side where we actually broadcast from the stands this past week.
Exactly.
And which turned out to be a really cool experience. The Cabot had part of their press box that they roped off because of a window issue. And so Ahmad is kind of in front of where I am. And so I noticed that he's got a few people around him, but in my mind, as the play's going, I'm like, all they got to do is throw the ball to him because really he's up against corners that are 5'8", 5'9", and he's 6'5" with tremendous athletic ability. And so once the ball went up in the air, I'm thinking this might have a chance to do something. Now, did I see an Odell Beckham style catch coming? No, but it was really cool to see that he did that. And while I appreciate what you said about the call. Without that play, there is no call, And so, I'm not going to take any credit for that.
Yeah.
That was Ahmad making an amazing play, and I thought that that is something that was really cool to see that it went viral. But I'm happy for him, and so it led to the very next play. Zai ended up doing the same thing, a one-handed catch over the middle.
We're going to get to that. Go ahead and give you a play-by-play.
But it was a similar setup where Zai had some space over the middle this time. And on a previous, I believe in the previous half, there was a couple of throws that Josh threw just a little too hard, just a little bit too much mustard. And this time, he did hit Zai, and Zai just, with the one-handed grab. And Zai has the breakaway speed.
Yes.
That if he's got that room, he's also going to be gone. You would see that if you were able to watch the play.
We're going to go with this play right now. Zai Scott with the one-handed on the run. Just watch it.
Jared Ball. I formation over the middle. Caught by Scott. 40, 30, 25, 20, 15, 10, 5. Scott in the end zone. And that's a Bearcat touchdown. Brought to you by Arbor Tech Tree Service. Back-to-back one-handed grabs for the receivers for the Bearcats. And Ruston leads 19-7 as we await the extra point. And what did I tell you? You can't have a 99-yard scoring drive if you don't get the ball on the one.
And I'm going to, Malcolm, just look away or look into the void or something. But, I owe this man a lot. I really do. And, I was able to learn about how to do play-by-play through listening to him. I worked for him at Louisiana Tech for the first few years that I got out of college. So Malcolm, for me, is somebody that, as wonderful of a business partner as he is, I mean, he's been an amazing friend, and he's been a mentor to me for a lot of years. And so, there's so many people that for me to thank just to have the opportunity to do play-by-play, but while he's here, and people are watching, bro, I appreciate you. And so I want you to hear that.
Well, I appreciate that. And here's the deal. I've been fortunate enough during my role at Tech for 23 years, and I try to find young people who I think are talented and driven and just give them an opportunity and a little bit of direction and let them do it. And that's what Kyle did. And how Kyle became my assistant really is the story, to be honest with you. I had called him in, late July or early August and just said, hey, I've got an opening.
And this is 2005.
Yeah.
Yes.
I would love for you to come and join my team here at Tech. And he was like, man, if I wish I could. You had just gotten married or getting married?
I was getting married, and I just signed a lease on an apartment in New Orleans, Louisiana.
And they had jobs down there, and he basically said it will take an act of God to get me out of my lease and this job. And I said, okay, I understand. Hey, good luck to you. Well, 2 weeks later, a hurricane hits.
Hurricane Katrina hits.
Wow.
I'm watching it make landfall, and I'm at my in-laws' house. So I was getting married the following weekend, and I'm watching it make landfall. And I had Malcolm's number. I said, hey, Malcolm, this is Kyle. You got that job? He said, yeah, it is. I said, I will take that.
Yeah,
and the rest has been history.
You never know, how God's going to work. Obviously, God didn't bring a hurricane to get Kyle to come up to Ruston, but that was one of the silver linings.
Yes, I appreciate
that. He came up and he's done a great job. And the thing that I like about his calls there is he's excited, but you understand what's going on. He's not just screaming to scream. If you're not watching the game and you're just listening to the game, you know what's going on. And, so many times, especially on the high school level, you'll listen to some broadcasts and sometimes you don't know what's going on because, you got a couple announcers that are screaming over each other and you just tell me where the ball is, who's got the ball and who's making the tackle, right? You can be excited to do it, but make sure I understand what's going on as the listener.
Yeah, and I think that the chemistry on that broadcast too, Nick jumped in after the Zai, he had the great take on the 99-yard drive, and so again, been very fortunate to work with some great people from a radio perspective, but even outside of radio, I think what it's highlighted for me, even as somebody that's in my 40s, man, people that stop and take the opportunity to mentor young men and to when early in their careers. I think that's worth pointing out. So for me now, do I have the opportunity to pay it forward? Are there some young broadcasters out there that may want to just come sit and listen? Or, can we find, ways to shepherd new writers for the Lincoln Parish Journal? I think that those are important things that I don't think get talked about enough. And so when somebody takes the opportunity like Malcolm did all those years ago, it's just worth repeating the gratitude. And I want to do that for other people as well.
Definitely. That's one of the best things is giving what to someone who's thriving and driving and driven towards what you want, what they want to know from you, know, and that one of the things that gets me right now is when people come up, hey, I want to start my podcast like you, or I started my podcast because of you. And it's oh man, this is, I want to cover Ruston High sports because I see you doing it. I know it can be done, and I'm like, dang, it's
good for everybody.
Yeah,
it's good to have multiple viewpoints. It's good to have multiple people that are all, you don't want to be the only person carrying the load of, podcasting for the community of Ruston. Even as good of a job as you do, like Ruston's big enough and Lincoln Parish is big enough where like you can have multiple people that are, that are doing these things. Yeah. And so rather than running away from that, it's like, no, embrace it. It's good.
So since we're talking about community and giving back and all these good things, I want to go touch on last year's season and how the community came together. And do you see it in this year, in this season? And do you think it can grow bigger?
So, and Malcolm and I were both covering the day that Ruston was leaving in the buses from downtown Ruston. They were headed down to New Orleans. Okay. And so Malcolm was over at one end of Trenton Street down closer to the McDonald's. I was up near some of the downtown Walt's Pharmacy and places like that. And we had our cameras out, and the whole town is paraded. They've got the pom-poms, and the buses are going, and like you see just so many people coming out from this. Like you see so many different parts of Ruston and parts of this community that are coming together. And when Ruston is doing well in football, it drives other parts of our community to do well too. And so I think that what I'm seeing is I saw 2 road games that one was 5.5 hours away, one was over 3 hours away within 2 weeks. Yeah. And Ruston still showed up incredibly well. Yeah. And so I do think that it's really
championship. Look at all the great teams out there. And so what Ruston was able to do in the 80s, that makes it just that much more extraordinary. But, if you could go through a 5-year stretch where you can get down there 2 or 3 times, which, again, hard to do, it just continues to build. You start to see more people in the stands at home games, and everybody just buys in. Listen, people want to follow winners, right?
Exactly.
That's it. And we are fair weather fans. And I say we, right? When the Cowboys aren't any good, I don't watch them quite the same way that I do when Micah Parsons and they're so good. So people want to follow winners. And so, if Jared and this group could somehow get back there and a second straight year, I think you just continue to see it build. Yeah.
I like the Coach Ball is one of those guys that, he's real mellow. Mm-hmm. He gets the point across.
Yep.
And man, the kids love him.
Right.
Those guys, when they step into this program, I'm coaching over at IA Lewis, and when he comes in, it's like, that's the Ruston coach.
Right.
That's Coach Ball. And that, I don't know, as a coach, for him, that has to be like one of the best feelings, to have that impact on kids who don't know you personally.
Right. I think one of the things that makes Coach Ball so successful is I've never seen him let the highs get him too high, and I've never seen him let the lows get him too low.
Yeah.
And so Malcolm and I co-run the Lincoln Parish Journal. Go to LincolnParishJournal.com today. I hope this is all right. You can sign up for free, completely free to join. We send you an email every morning at 6:55. We don't do anything else with your email. We just, we want to get you the best news here at Lincoln Parish. And taking care of covering Ruston football is one of the big things that we do, certainly during the fall. So having said that, I've been working with him for the last few years, where I'll go interview him once a week, and I'll talk to him in the post-game show. And you can tell that he cares, but he also has to be mindful that, like, I'm the person that's captaining the ship. If I'm overexcited during the highs, then that is going to set the kind of tone where if things are bad that are happening, like that people are going to be like, what's going on? Abandon ship.
Yeah.
And so the way he handles post-game shows, the way he handles himself whenever I'm interviewing him, he gives you really good information. He gives you great detail. He's very knowledgeable about football, but he's not going to fall into the trap where some coaches can be, overly emotional. And that can be fun for a certain amount of time, but Jared's been doing this for 7 seasons.
Yeah.
Like, he's been here for a long time as the head coach of Ruston High football. And again, part of what's made him so successful is that he understands, and I'm speaking on his behalf. I hope he would say the same thing. But based on my experiences with him, he's just not going to get rattled either way. Like, he's going to give you the information that you need. He's going to give you a great interview regardless. And I think we're seeing, because that's the way he leads, I think that's why we're seeing so much success.
Yeah. All right. I'm not going to say that's enough of Ruston High football.
Is there ever?
It's never enough for Ruston High football. But let's talk about Tech.
Okay.
Louisiana Tech, just across the street from Ruston High, in the backyard. I don't know. We'll say Ruston High is in their backyard.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say that. All right.
They're good neighbors.
Yeah.
Right.
Very good neighbors. What are some of the exciting things that are going on in Tech football right now?
Well, I mean, I think that obviously, you're sitting at 2-2. I know that the team was disappointed in the loss last Saturday at home. It's just a game that sometimes you just don't play well. And I thought that was one of those where, unfortunately, we just didn't play well and showed a lot of fight, trailed by 17 with about 6.5 minutes to play in the game, came all the way back, tied it up with a minute to play. And then, unfortunately, North Texas drove down the field and kicked the game-winning field goal with just a couple of seconds left. So I know that's one that Sonny Cumbie and those guys would like to have back. But, he's trying to build a program. Skip Holtz did a wonderful job here. But, Skip's last year we were 3-9. Sonny comes in, and I'm going to tell you what, in this day and age of the transfer portal, you saw the turnover. There are 49 new scholarship guys on the team this year that were not dressed out last. 49 out of 85 scholarship guys were not at Louisiana Tech last year. Now, that's a combination of high school kids he's recruited, and the recruiting on the high school level has changed drastically. That's a whole nother story. But and then D1 transfers, junior college kids, and so forth. So when you have more than half of your roster with a lot of those guys on the 2 deep that are brand new, it takes some time, and chemistry is a real thing. You can be as talented as you want, but if you don't have good chemistry, that's why, Ruston High's got a lot of guys back. Doesn't mean that this Ruston High team is going to be as good as last year's. They may be better. I think only time will tell, but every year you've got new team chemistry, and that's so critical. And so heading to Lincoln, Nebraska this week, which is a cool place. I've been there before. And then once that one's done, that's our last non-conference game. We jumped and we got 7 straight weeks of Conference USA games.
So you were there with the catch, right? From
Jonathan Holland. I was there. That was our only touchdown today, but it was a beautiful catch. Tom Morris, Timo got a great photo of it. That's kind of iconic. But yeah, I was there for that one.
Yeah, that picture is actually hanging up in my bonus.
Really?
Yeah. I got that from Tom because that was an SID for you at the time. And Jonathan was he was the kid that came out of Mamon, Louisiana, which is it's south of Rayville, north of Winsboro. Yeah. So he was one of the best track athletes too. But I think what Nebraska fans are going to remember, and I don't actually know if you were there for this or not.
It's the year before I started. Okay,
so this was the year before Malcolm started at Louisiana Tech as the head SID. That was
Troy Edwards.
I was going to say Aikman. Thank you for saving me from that. Troy Edwards and Tim Rattay. He had 414 yards.
405 yards receiving on 21 catches against the defending national champions.
They could have handed him the Bolitnikov right there in the locker room after that game was over with.
I tell people all the time, I'm not sure a program has ever gained as much positive publicity from a 4-touchdown loss as Louisiana Tech did that game. It was 56-27 was the final. But Tim threw for 590 yards. Troy caught for 405, which is still the NCAA single game record.
That's not getting broken.
Which will never be broken. And kind of the funny thing is Troy's son, True, is a Bulldog right now. So he will play up there this Saturday in Lincoln as well.
That's cool.
So there's a lot of cool storylines to this game. But that was quite the ball.
He needs to get 406. He can break Dad's record.
Yeah.
No pressure, True. Yeah.
So is it true? Okay. This is just something that I heard years ago around this time. Troy Edwards came from intramural.
So Troy, when he came to Louisiana Tech, and you're taking me back, and I wasn't the SID yet, but if my memory as a fan holds true, there used to be what they called Proposition 48s, and that were basically kids kids who came out of high school who didn't have the grades, the scores to play in year one.
Okay.
So they could sign with the college, they could come, they could practice, they could do all that. They just couldn't play. And they were called Prop 48s. And so I'm pretty sure, and man, you're putting me on the spot here. I'm pretty sure that Troy was a Prop 48. He was signed.
He was playing
that freshman year, he may have been playing intramural football because he was not playing on the football field. So that's your story might be correct, but he was a Bulldog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was insane. You know, I've always managed to find Tech on TV whenever they play those big matchups. You know, but my most memorable matchup for Tech would be the Florida State game.
Okay.
Peter Ward.
Hey, so that was my first game ever as an SID at Louisiana Tech. I took the job in '99 in the summer.
This is awesome.
We opened that year down in Tallahassee. They were number one in the country.
Yeah.
Peter Warwick was on that team. Do you remember the 20-yard touchdown?
Oh,
He made. Not only did he make all 11 Bulldogs miss, I think he made them miss twice each on about a 20-yard.
Wow.
I think it was either a run or it was a little pass, little dump pass or something.
Dump pass. He may have gotten 80 yards on that.
Yeah, he ran about 80 yards to cover 20 and scored a touchdown, and it ended up being the NCAA Play of the Year that year. It was unbelievable. Yes.
That was crazy. Y'all got anything else? Because I mean, we can go on and on and on.
I do. I do think, you know, one, we're so appreciative that you have us, and you know, there are so many good things going on in this town, this community, that you're right. We'd be here for another 3 hours or so.
Yeah.
But like, man, it's really great that we're able to be here. I appreciate that we can represent the Lincoln Parish Journal, and then we both get to represent, you know, Louisiana Tech, Ruston High, pillars of, you know, this community and of this parish. And so, you know, again, maybe we could come back on at some point as the season goes on. We could talk about some other things.
We could talk politics. That's been interesting. No, I'm kidding. We're not going to talk politics.
We have a comedian.
Yeah. He's a funny guy. He's a funny guy. Yeah. But in all sincerity, I do think that you know, I'm excited. You know, that we're actually running a story on you tomorrow. And so you and I a few weeks ago had a sit down that I felt like our conversation, you know, which was mostly driven by you. It was such a good conversation that I felt like that was worth just more of a sit down rather than doing an actual story. So I hope people will be willing to tune into that tomorrow, so they can see, you know, see your heart for this community, your passion for all things Ruston High, barbering, everything. And so I'm excited for that. And we appreciate that you were willing to sit down and tell us your story.
No problem, man. I'm always willing to tell my story, the little bit of story that I have. You know?
Hey, you're a big part of the equation in Lincoln Parish. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Hey, y'all. It's Thursday. We got a Lincoln Prep game tonight against Jonesboro. Y'all go check that out at the new stadium. Tomorrow, LCA is coming here, and they have been talking.
I didn't realize that. So
they have been talking and tweeting and pictures.
Yeah. They remember last year.
I saw a picture where the quarterback was holding the baby, and the baby's face had our quarterback on it. And it says, "Come here and let daddy show you how to."
Oh, wow.
Oh, boy.
Wow. Well, that'll be interesting.
So we got a little bulletin board material.
That is never good to get bulletin board material to a team that just went to the Superdome.
Yeah.
Right.
We're not going to give it back.
No, we're not. Not on this podcast.
Not here.
Not on this podcast.
Not here. We're just talking about the bulletin board material from the other sports.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're not giving any.
Yeah.
Although I want us to win.
Yes, obviously. Yeah, and I think we'd be remiss. Cedar Creek plays tomorrow night too.
Yep. They're at home tomorrow night against Delhi. That's exactly right. So yeah, a lot of high school football action in Lincoln Parish over the next couple of months.
Will Tech be televised? ESPN?
Yeah, no, it is televised. I'm pretty sure Big 12 Network.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
2:30 kick.
Make sure y'all check out some a fun-filled weekend of football. Enjoy family.
Yep.
Might have some wet weather this weekend.
Yeah.
You know, but let's enjoy it. I thank y'all for coming on the show.
Thank
man.
you.
This is
Yeah.
great. Hey, y'all. Also, put 2 thumbs up if y'all want this to happen again.
Huh?
2 thumbs up
I got 2 thumbs.
in the comments if y'all want this to happen again, because this was good.
There were some things that I think Malcolm kind of alluded to it. I think that it would absolutely be worth talking about in a future podcast is how has the landscape of recruiting for college changed based on the transfer portal, based on, NIL. Like there's so many different things. And he has a bird's eye view of that, obviously from the press box. But I do think that maybe in the future we can come back on, and I could just sit and listen, to him talk about this because it's such a great take on how the landscape of things have changed over just literally these last couple of years.
Yes.
You better have 2 hours and some soapboxes because I can get on.
I like to try to have all day when
There you go.
That's right.
I know I can. I don't just come off as a talker, but I can talk.
Yeah.
If we talking about some stuff, I can talk.
I love it.
Well, we just killed 45 minutes and it seemed like that, right?
It's like that.
Yeah.
Right? Hey, y'all, this is PHAT'S Barbershop Club. Real topics, real views, real people. Before we get out of here, I cannot let y'all leave because I let more Kramer leave without doing it, and I will not let y'all do it. Look right into that camera and say, "What's up, Ruston?"
What's up, Ruston?
What's up, Ruston?
What's up, Ruston? Thank you for listening to my Daddy Fat on PHAT'S Barbershop Club.